silly response.
Yes, sir.
You ready? Y'all ready now? Franklin County Board of County Commissioners 9th session. Commissioner Jones, would you lead us in prayer? Please, sir.
Yes, sir. Our Father, we thank you today for this day that you've given to each and every one of us. We thank you for this lovely place we call home. Father, we ask that you would be with us today as a commission. God, in all our decision-making processes, help us to understand not just what's good for today, but what's good for all of our futures, the futures of our children and grandchildren. Thank you for this precious place. Help us today and be with us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Next on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Massey, second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passed unanimous. Next on the agenda will be payment of county bills.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Massey. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passed unanimous. Next we'll have public comments. Oh, Michael, you got,
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, good morning,
morning.
if I may. I need to clear up some misinformation up there and just provide some clarity here. By a show of hands, how many people are here to speak on the Serenity Seaside Resort project? Okay, so, a couple of items for you to understand here today. Number one, public comments is the only opportunity for you to get to speak to the commission today on this item. It is coming up here right next. We're in that part of the agenda now. The board today will only hear, or consider, I should say, whether to do a public hearing on this matter or not. They will authorize staff to schedule a public hearing and advertise it accordingly. So that is the only thing that's on the P&Z report today that will be considered as it regards this project. Everybody has a right to speak as it's on the public comments. So with that being said, is there anything else you think I might have missed?
I'd characterize, so the merits of the project are not going to be discussed today. The merits of the project will be discussed at the public hearing if the board agrees to hold a public hearing. So I want to put it that way, so that you can certainly say whatever you want to during the comment section, but there will be it could be a second public hearing where specifically the board will be listening to the details of the project and responses from the developer and all that kind of stuff. That's not going to happen this morning.
Yeah, not even a second public hearing. It hasn't been a public hearing scheduled yet, so that's when it happened. Just to, not to confuse anyone, but to draw reference, we have something similar to that on the agenda for another separate total project here today. So with that being said, let me also ask, in general, how many people are going to speak today, whether it's about that project or something totally different, here on the public comments? Okay, so that's in addition. So I would say this to you, Commissioners, you might want to confer with the attorney right now, and since we have such a long agenda, do you want to consider reducing the amount of time today to allow everyone to speak and to still move on with the project?
I do, because it might be a public comment, and if anybody, we don't need to be repeating the same thing over and over. I mean, we get the message. If somebody got up in front and said what you was intending to say, well, we'll leave it at that.
But
If that be all right, Mr.
Yes, sir. I think if someone is simply going to get up and say the same thing that some other person had, it would not be inappropriate for them, instead of repeating everything that person said, to simply say, well, I'm endorsing or supporting the comments made by such and such person, whoever that person might be, or if they oppose it, but they do have a right to public comment, and I think what I would suggest to you, first of all, is let's take in order the people who have public comment on a item other than the South Bay Shore matter, so we can get them in and out, and then secondarily move into the South Bay Shore matter. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, with that, we're gonna start the public comment with the people.
Okay. And I want to be very clear, because a lot of the people here went to the planning and zoning meeting. When this item comes up under the planning and zoning report that you see on the agenda, you will not have an opportunity then to speak. This is your opportunity. I want to make that very clear for everyone. Okay? So,
Anybody got independent other than the ratio? Would you come up now for public comment? Public comment?
Mr. Chairman, you know me. I just want to make sure that everybody in this room is comfortable with public comment. We're isolated up here, and we need your input. So don't feel intimidated in any way at all. This is not a speaking contest. It's an education contest. So please come if you have any comments with regard to the subject that's on the table right now. Okay. Thank you.
Is that, are you asking for the people who signed up to speak now?
well, let me
If
clarify
it's
that
on the
also.
base show, I was asking for the other people who had something else other than base show
I'm
first.
not seeing anyone, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Okay,
let me
okay.
clarify something else. Actually, you sign up when you sign up to speak to the podium. We don't look at the list and call people off the list.
Right.
Okay? So the chairman will recognize you, you come up, you state your name for the record, and then you sign the sheet, if you haven't signed it already.
There's a couple of names ahead of me, though, so.
That's fine. We'll go based on the chairman recognition
We don't-
of each person.
We don't really have to go in order.
Yes, sir.
So-
Come up, sir, you got 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute.
That's
That's
right.
pretty close. Okay, my name is George Pruitt. I'm representing the East Point Fire Department in part, and also I'm representing myself as a property owner in East Point, Florida. I've been a resident there 35 years. I was asked how this project is going to impact the fire department. I don't think it's going to impact the fire department negatively. It will increase our MSBU revenues by a good little bit if all of this project is built out as planned. As a resident of East Point, so that's the fire department thing, and I'll take questions if you have them. As a resident of East Point, I think it's about time that East Point took a share of the pie like the rest of the county has. I've had people tell me it's going to kill the bay. I've had people tell me it's going to be a terrible eyesore. But I've noticed that there's no building moratorium on Alligator Point, Kirabel, Apalachicola, St. George Island, in the name of saving the bay. And in fact, this is a very well-engineered project from what I can see. And I'm not an engineer. I'm just going by what I've looked and seen. So I, for one, think that we need a little economic development in East Point. Our kids might like to have a job here that they could stay home, and they might like to have a coat of paint on East Point so that they could be proud of where they're from as well. Not that we're not proud of East Point. We've had some hard hits in the last couple of years, and we're recovering from that. But I just think this would be a nice project and a nice addition, and maybe a start of something good, and people wanting to come invest in our community. And that's all I've got to say. And I appreciate it. I'll take any questions about the fire department or anything else if you like.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Public comment. Any more public? Come up, sir.
My name's David Dale. I live on 25 South Bayshore Drive. And something Ricky said in his opening prayer, this is what we call home. We bought here and live here because of the peace and quiet that's on the bay and the natural resources, the eagles, the dolphins, everything else. And we know development is going to come, but not the size of development that they're trying to do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Diane Brewer. I'm a property owner, resident, and voter in Apalachicola for the past 5 years. I'm asking you to consider something for the long haul about the Serenity development, which is going to bring anything but serenity to Franklin County, which includes Apalachicola and surrounding cities and towns in it. I'm going to give each of you today a copy of a recent article from the Wall Street Journal titled, "Florida Town Defies Developers." The two most important quotes in this are from the mayor of Mexico Beach, and she says, despite the this is the article, despite the city's need for financial infusion, it is intent on fending off developers who want to build denser projects. And the mayor's quote is, "We're not interested in changing who we are to accommodate money." So this project is being sponsored by developers who want to bring their vision to Franklin County. It's up to Franklin County to do what's best for it and its voters, not to people who want to come in and bring their vision to us. Thank you. Would you like to pass these up?
Thank you. Come on up, ma'am.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Denise Butler. I live on North Bay Shore, where I have lived for the last 42 years. I have been an East Point resident. My children grew up there. This is home. So no one wants to see anything bad happen to my home either. However, I think that this project bears public hearing because I think it represents hope. And that's all I would like to say, is that it is a possible catalyst for other good things to happen in our community. And I think the work that they have put into it, and they're listening to the residents all along North and South Bayshore, and not just along Bayshore, but in East Point as well. There is a lot of support for something good happening in East Point, and I, for one, think it deserves a public hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Lula Fuller, and I'm one of the owners of Doc Myers Island Pub on St. George Island, and I'm a member of the Business Association on the island and an officer in that association. The association has taken this up and has voted to support this project and definitely to have a public hearing on it. And that is a community of our business members on the island. I personally have taken a trip to the site and walked it, looked at the project, and have a background in environmental law, and would say that it looks from what I have seen, to be as sound a project as I have seen. I think it's worthy of a public hearing and to get feedback from everyone, but I can tell you that in the business community, we believe this would be a solid project, both environmentally and for the business community, as well as the residents, with minimal impact. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Liang. I'm a resident of Apalachicola. I would like to request a public hearing on this issue. There needs to be a full fleshing out of this, all the permutations. I would like to say one thing. This project is the largest thing in Franklin County that's ever been proposed. We need to take a complete look on this project. The developers come in and they propose a wonderful project. What you get is not always what is discussed up front. We need to discuss whether or not the Bay can handle this. And just as a cautionary matter, this is just the first of many. Developers are going to be beating on the doors because we have a paradise here. And just to paint you a picture, when I was a child, Key West was a town about the size of this one. Okay, the development began. It didn't bring good paying jobs to that community. What it brought is money to a few on the top, but no good paying jobs to the people in the community. Real estate got so high that only the wealthy could buy in. They did put in worker housing, which consisted of a huge tract of trailers out in the boonies, so they could have service workers to support all this. This is just one project, but you're going to see this is what you let this project in, and there's going to be a decimation of this area.
Your minute up, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jeannie Dale, and I live on South Bay Shore. We are not opposed to this project. We are opposed to the density. It's our job and your job to protect the estuary. If you all will, I had maps, but I didn't bring them all. There are 3 maps that are up there. These maps are part of our Franklin County Comprehensive Plan. They are in the plan. The first map that you see shows the this particular property is surrounded by land that was purchased, wetlands that was purchased by the county or by the state years ago. It totally encompasses this property. Another map shows that the entire bay area in this particular area is an estuary. That estuary surrounds this property. And another map shows just across the street on the west side is an estuary park. That park has it's an archaeological site. All of those are in the comprehensive plan. Now, if we abide by the comprehensive plan, this entire property is circled by scenic highways. Bayshore and the road to the east are both scenic byways.
Your minute up, ma'am.
Well, can I read Objective 18 in the comp plan?
We'll hear that if we have the public hearing.
Policy 18.2, properties between designated scenic roads and wetlands shall be zoned to the lowest density allowed for their respective future land use categories. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dan Myers. I'm, along with my wife, one of the owners of Doc Myers Island Pub. We've had a home on St. George Island for 31 years, and we're both retired lawyers. My understanding from listening to Mike and listening to the commissioners is that this is a hearing to determine whether or not to have a hearing. I think basically in the United States of America, free speech is something that we value very highly. And to argue that there should not be a public hearing on a project that someone has spent an enormous amount of money on to date, I think is both illegal and irresponsible. And I would ask the commission to schedule this for a hearing and let people talk to and address the merits, the concerns, and the reality of what is being proposed. Thank you.
Gary Carroll. My wife and I live on North Bay Shore. First point I'd like to make is we're really interested in seeing that the community develops and develops properly. We need to first realize that this is not a housing development. It's or industrial development, that it doesn't provide low-cost housing. It's not intended primarily to provide, quote, good-paying jobs. It's tourism development. It's an alternative to alternative income into the county. It needs to be considered as tourism development, not as something it's not intended to be. East Point does need some diversification. This does not seem to be a perfect development, but the developers seem to be willing to work with the county. They've made big changes already. The changes that the issues that still result or still remain don't look insurmountable. They seem to be willing to work with us. I don't know who we're going to find to work with us more willingly. So if we say no to these guys just out of hand, who do we think is going to be better to come along in the future? Are they going to be just as willing to work with us? As an aside, my wife and I met while we were majoring in architecture, 5-year college in Georgia.
Time up, sir.
Thank you. It does not look like a bad project to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Pete Weitzel from Apalachicola. I'm strongly opposed to this development. It's a California-style, high-density type of a project. If you want to have high density, you need to go to California or Destin, not Franklin County. This is not who we are or what we are, and not what we came here for. So I'd encourage you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, gentlemen. I live on 55 South Bayshore Drive and been here, well, I've been in this county at least 30 years, one way or the other, on the island first and now on Bayshore. Came here because of the beauty that's here, just like everybody that's in this room. We love our county. We've done many things for our county. We want our children to succeed. And we want jobs, we want all these things for our community. Our schools are getting better. It's taking time, but there are people really working hard here to do that. And we need to appreciate what we've done so far. My greatest fear is that we will go ahead and develop this county without the forethought and the research that's necessary. I love the idea of a hotel. I think that would be a benefit to East Point. I really do. That would put us on the map. And a lovely coffee shop and whatever else they'd like to do. But you know, we have other developers in this room too. One on South Bayshore that put in a huge development and followed the rules on North Bayshore. And Lindley knows this is nothing personal. She's a sweet person. We've talked. We've had 5 hours together. And we would love to have this work out so that it's best for the people who are here now and for the future.
Ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment?
My name is Henry Kozlowski. That was my wife. I live on 55 South Bayshore Drive. I'll be brief. The old saying is true. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. My concern is the density of this housing and the cost of these houses. If there was a demand for housing in East Point, one could build a house right now for the same cost. There are plenty of building lots, which brings you to the point of who can afford these houses. It'll be investors, and it'll be investors that would just use it for rental property. My other concern is that are we going to end up in East Point with another half-empty development, just like Magnolia Bay, Magnolia Ridge, Gramercy Park, and Las Brisas? And remember St. James when that started. Everybody and their uncle jumped in there and invested in it. It was the greatest thing to happen to Franklin County. Look at it today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Howard Anderson. I guess there's a reason why I've lost my voice this morning, so I'll be brief. I live on South Bayshore Drive. Due to the wonderful sidewalk that was installed there, we have an opportunity to take a nice 3-mile walk around this area, which I do regularly. I also, along with some of my neighbors, pick up trash as I go along. I've taken my push mower and I've mowed along there. I've looked at that property when I walk around, That property oozes water all the time. It is a pristine area. I've gone back in past years and walked around the lake. I take a nice big piece of wood with me because our friendly bears sometimes are back there. I appreciate the atmosphere that we have. I'm opposed to the change of zoning, and I think there may be some merits for that property, and I think the community deserves an opportunity for a public hearing to discuss more of the details, and we appreciate your consideration of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alan Pfeiffer, President of Concerned Citizens Franklin County. I want to state at the outset that we have no position on this except for one of a county-centric view of how this works. We are not known for being a developer-friendly environment. And I think it's important that while the merits of any one project are not going to make or break us, as a whole, we want to look, we do need economic development. I'm going to support the idea that we should have a public hearing so that all sides are aired and individuals' rights. When they spend millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars prepping for something like this, they should at least have that public hearing. We haven't had a major review of the comp plan in over 10 years. I used to be involved with the visioning statements we used to have. We haven't done that for a long time. Perhaps that's time again. We do need economic development, but we need the right kind of economic development. We have a lack of opportunities for our children, and I know that some of the commissioners are deeply concerned about that lack of opportunity, but this is just, we must treat developers fairly, even if we don't necessarily agree with every project that comes before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Scott Somro, and I live at 53 South Bayshore Drive in beautiful East Point, Florida. I have a small investment home on St. George Island. I have some commercial property on Island Drive in Begonia. And I'm in favor of development, but I don't want the zoning to be changed. I bought commercial property, and I don't think they should take residential and be able to convert it to commercial property. So therefore, I am against this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Susan Anna Kyer, 41 South Bayshore Drive. I have never got an idea if my voice is going to work or not, but here I am. I am not opposed to the hotel, but I'm concerned about the upzoning, the traffic, and the density. I would like to have a hearing for more issues, but urge you to keep the density as it is. Thank you. For as the comp plan says that it should be. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Sharon Sleeper. I do not live on either of the Bay Shores. I live on 98, and the traffic by my house now has increased in the 3 years that I've been here. I am not opposed to quality investment of businesses to come in and help bring East Point up to what it will become. The bay needs to be guarded, the density needs to be guarded, and the heritage that comes with living in this place should belong to all of us. I have written a letter to all 5 of you. I hope that you got it, and that's all I have to say. Thank you. I am for, and I think you could save time by asking those who want a public hearing to stand up. We don't all need to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's John Berry, 1389 Alligator Drive. I have just come up to ask, I wish everybody was as passionate about that project also with Alligator Drive, you know? That would solve a few issues. But my concern this morning is sand dunes. I made a request to get some signs to put on the sand dunes that are left on Alligator Point and those other locations in the county. And I would appreciate if y'all could get that done so that people will, on the weekends, even though it is public access, they'll stay off the sand dunes where the vegetation has been and let that try to get back, grow back. Okay? And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment? Any more public comment? Come up, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Robin Hilton, and I just wanted to ask, are we going to have public comments? Is it only on these specific items that we're talking about right now? If we have something to say on something that's further down on the agenda, do we need to speak now?
Yes,
You do.
You do. Mhm.
Okay. Well, I wanted to speak about number 3 on the agenda, the consideration for the request for the land use change for the single-family home industry residential district to commercial. This is on 98. The address is 889 Highway 98. And I am not for changing the zoning on that property. There are properties right next to it that are single-family zoning, and so is this property. And I think that should stay as a residential single-family.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, my name is Denise Gunnels, and I also want to speak to the property issues at 889 Highway 98. I've been coming to Franklin County for over 20 years and been coming to the Gulf Coast all of my life. In 2010, after a 3-year search, we purchased property in East Point. Love it here. It's been my dream of many years to build a retirement home here. I love the peace and quiet. The cost of living is reasonable. Medical care is an hour away, and our environment here is just gorgeous. Many of these other people have spoken to that. In 2013, when Coastline Rentals LLC bought the adjoining property to mine and decided to build a campground, we were delighted. We're full-time RVers. We stay with them often and believed they would make a good neighbor, even though, you know, it was a commercial endeavor. Since the property which directly adjoined ours was and is still zoned residential, we weren't particularly worried, and campgrounds are usually pretty quiet places. I even called at one point and spoke to a woman, and she assured me she was an owner and that it would remain a caretaker's home and stay residential. That all changed last fall. We stayed in Carabel for a month and noticed that they were storing RVs behind the house. So even then, they were violating the zoning codes by using it for a commercial endeavor, even at that point. Now, in direct violation of county ordinances, without seeking proper permits or notifications, they have built a restaurant on the property. They've already built the thing, okay? They claim it is just a pavilion for a food truck, but this pavilion has a full-fledged dedicated parking lot, well lit, and a garage for the food truck so they never have to move it, including industrial ventilation fans for the food truck. This is no small operation. Now, I understand and encourage development and commercial ventures, but everything needs to be done through proper procedures.
Your time up, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize to the public and to the board. I did not realize when Ms. Robin got up, she's actually referring to a scheduled public hearing that's coming up later on the agenda. Both herself and members of the public do have a right to speak during that public hearing. So
Right.
if they would care to come up and speak again, they are certainly entitled to do so. And sorry, there was such a quick shift in the subject matters, I was not quite quick enough on the uptake. But that's what we can do at the public hearing, is take additional comment from them and anyone else.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, I pinched the sign-up sheet when I got my paper.
Any more public comment? Okay, next on the agenda will be Department Director Report. Mr. Howard Neighbors, Superintendent of Public Works.
Good morning, Commissioners. How y'all doing?
Good morning.
We continue on putting up the signs that was damaged by the storm. We got everything done but Lanark. We're working on that. We also got a few faded signs to the county, which when we get all the stuff that was damaged by the storm taken care of, we'll be fixing the replacing the faded sign. Continue on digging ditches and cleaning, and we're also gonna be cutting a bunch of our right-of-ways out, which we did about 3 years ago with the M313 machine we got with the bushwhacker on it. So we'll also be going through the county doing that.
Okay. Anybody got anything from Mr. Neighbors?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Howard, I've had a couple of my constituents talk about signage along the beach.
Yes.
What is the proper procedure for having an evaluation of where that is and an outcome relative to signage? Is that your department? Because
Now, you
we
talking about
make
the
signs-
sand dunes and stuff?
Yeah, there's issues of, I think there's some issues of property lines relative to beach, and then walking on beaches that belong to other people. I'm
We do
getting
not-
educated on this is what
We do
I'm,
not identify boundary lines, property between the public beach and a private property. That's a private property owner's responsibility to identify where his private property is.
needed to know that. Okay, so
Because we would be out surveying hundreds of miles,
what about public dunes on public beaches? How is that
Well,
managed?
again, Commissioner, it is a state law that, state law prohibits you from damaging COs. COs are usually
Yep.
on sand dunes.
Mhm.
That's a state law that we can, I was talking to Fonda, we can erect some signs saying keep off the sand dunes. I mean, unfortunately, people don't abide by,
Understand.
common sense a lot of times. So you hate to have to put signs out to remind people to do the obvious thing, don't trample on vegetation. But in the case of sand dunes, because they are fragile and some people don't recognize that they're fragile, yes, we can put some signs up. It's just a matter of what the budget can allow.
Sure.
There is a funding mechanism for beach signs, because we've seen them, your flags, DEP, the state of Florida gives us money for the flags network that we have. But I don't know about sand dunes. We could, Mark and Fonda can get together and see if there's a funding mechanism to buy some. These signs are expensive, you want to make sure they don't rust, so it's not like just a piece of wood. But we can erect signs, and probably the appropriate thing to do is at the entrance to boardwalks, as you're getting onto the beach, put signs there. But, I mean, we have 100 miles of sand dunes throughout Franklin County, and to erect signs at any distance, one, it would clutter up the beaches, and two, be very expensive. So I think we have to be cognizant of where people are getting to the beach and inform them at that point about the need. But there's plenty of sand dunes that are on private property that the private property owner can assist us in that venue.
This is probably just site-specific and property owner-specific. And so I've heard this comment this morning and before. So we as commissioners would be your portal of entry with regard to signage, and you just heard executive staff give us guidance in that area. So if you need something discussed, we're here to help you with
Again, I
that.
think I want to get back, I'll ask Mark to look into it, because DEP does, there's a funding mechanism for
Sure.
the beach flags and,
Good.
and surf, I forget what am I, undertow stuff. There may be something for sand dunes also, especially post Hurricane Michael, so we'll be glad to get an answer for you on that.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Somebody else got anything from Mr. Neighbors? Keep up the good work.
Thank y'all.
Next on the agenda will be Mr. Fonda Davis, Solid Waste Director.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Just a little something to update you on the recycling that we have throughout the county, the drop sites. They're beginning to cost us more money than what it's really worth. I know everybody want to recycle, But anytime you pull a bin in, you're getting 1,000 pounds of household garbage versus 100 pounds of recycle. It's time to quit it. Trucks is getting old. We finna have to buy new trucks. So, and the recycling bins, they're about $5,000 a piece. They last 3 years. They rusting out. We've been repairing them. Cost of metal is just getting outrageous. So, but just something for y'all to think about.
Pleasure to vote on that.
And what are we saying again? Are we making a decision about whether we should install these new containers?
As we get closer to budget, how do you want to handle?
Yes, closer to the budget.
Just something to consider.
Yeah, something to consider, yeah.
Oh, as we go to budget time?
Yes.
Okay.
The board remembers we closed the site in Appalachia we closed the site in Appalachia for misuse about how long ago? Almost a year now?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, it just moves from one spot to the other, Commissioner, so we have to make a decision as to maybe,
Well, yeah.
we just leave, can we set up something where if people want to recycle, they come up to 65 to
Yes.
do it there? It's something to consider as we get closer to budget.
Sure, that's a good thing. And Aaron, can you help us remember to do that? And we look at that reality of money, because I've had constituents ask the same question about recycling and where can we do it? We put it, and we used to have it before, and it's become dysfunctional and violated, and we're hearing the reason for it. And I'd like you to help us get the reality of the money when we talk about it on budget time. Thank you, hon. That's good.
That's it.
Anybody got anything for Mr. Davis? Well, you know, like, if it's not worth it, I mean, if the people don't, it's out of the goodness, we trying to help them with the recycling, and they don't show, if that's the appreciation we getting,
Right.
I mean, the good just gonna have to suffer with the bad.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, that's kind of a similar issue we have with the roadside debris pickup. You know, it has good intentions, but when we have trailers and couches and
Yeah.
bed mattresses and washing machines getting thrown inside the road, you know, it's, good intentions don't make it right.
Right. Okay, well, that's something we'll consider, and we'll take it up at budget time.
Yeah, I did have one other item, Commissioner. The fishing pier on East Point side here, we blocked it off. Y'all approved to block it off. Been getting a lot of calls. What I would like to do is move the blockers, the concrete boulders up closer where it get more parking space. What's happening, people is using the side, I think it's what it's called, Cat Point, for parking and getting stuck out there. So, but we could move the concrete blocks up closer to the bathroom, which will allow more parking.
Will that be any kind of hazard?
No, sir, it'll still block off the hazard area, the unsafe.
Pleasure to vote on that.
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner, second by Commissioner Mathis. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passed unanimously. First was by Commissioner Jones. Sorry about that.
That's all good.
Anything else?
That's it, Commissioner.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you for helping us last weekend with the dumpster.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Next on the agenda will be Ms. Pam Bonilla, Emergency Management.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have one action item, and that is for the board approval and signing of the funding or grant agreement for Hurricane Irma for $11,230.76.
Pleasure to vote.
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Massey. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimous.
And just for clarification, or edification, I guess. So Hurricane Irma was when?
Last year.
This last year, it wasn't 2016?
Let me think. No, yeah,
Anyway,
right.
it's taking that long to get reimbursed.
Yeah,
My point is.
taking,
fine.
it
Yep.
was 2017.
And that was just for 11,000, right? Is there more to come?
No, sir, that's it.
That was
That
it?
was strictly protective measures. That was the road department and the emergency management office being activated. That's it. That's all there is.
And we'll put that back in the reserve fund. Is that what that would go to?
Because it's so old, the budgets are closed, it goes into your.
Yeah, it pretty much will roll forward. You know, as far as with the road department, since the road department's in its own special fund, the road department will receive their FEMA funds, and then they typically will decide to buy, you know, pieces of equipment or make extra payments, you know, with their proceeds. But any overtime expense will be recouped by the county's general fund.
Well, FEMA getting on the ball, they 2 years behind now. Good.
Well, actually, it's not FEMA. No. Once something's obligated, it goes to the state. And it sits there till the state decides to pay it. Just like with Michael, once it's obligated, FEMA sends the state the money, and then it's up to the state when they send it out to us.
So the state been holding it up for 2 years.
Just telling you how the process goes.
Graham and I
That's
are careful,
the
so
same.
you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, so
No.
just leave it at that.
But truly, though, this is the reality of fiduciary responsibility that our county has. And we are passionate about wanting to do for the people, but you just saw a 2-year lag in money reimbursement that we'd already been spending. And we lost all that interest on that money for that 2 years we would have had, et cetera. So that's our watch care situation with regard to money. You just heard a little bit of it today.
I don't mind them biting us. I don't wanna touch the hand that bites us,
No.
but I would like for them to tell it so we won't get the blame.
That's right.
We catch all the slack for it.
Our new governor is pretty much on that. He's making sure that money's rolling out.
That's good. Anybody got anything else for Ms. Benel? Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda will be Mr. Eric Love, Spring Extension Office.
Commissioners, Eric is lucky enough to be traveling to Tampa for a conference about the county's turtle lighting ordinance, and et cetera.
Okay, next on the agenda will be Ms. Lisa Lance, Library Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. I don't have any action items, but I do want to mention a couple notes of appreciation. We want to extend our appreciation to the Friends of the Library and the more than 50 participants in the annual Putt Masters Mini Golf Tournament that was held on April 6th at Red Pirate, who is an annual sponsor of that. It was a successful event. Without our team sponsors that we have, the whole sponsors, we would not have the contributions for that fundraiser, and we would not be able to continue the many children's programs and services that we have at the library. We also extend a thank you to Gordon Anthony and his team with AARP that served our area for free tax aid, and congratulations to the Franklin County Library for completing more than 100 returns for the very first time. We have a gardening event today at 1:30 at the East Point Branch for spring gardening success. Both libraries will be closed on Friday in observance of Good Friday. The Carabel Branch will also be closed on Saturday. And we want to remind the ladies of the area that the mobile mammogram will be at the Carabel Branch Library on Saturday, May 4th from 9 to 2. There's no registration necessary, and this is for ladies ages 50 to 64. There's a lot more available on our calendar, so we hope that you will pick one up at the library or go on our website. And I want to appreciate Commissioner Bolt's comment as he came in that the library is the happy place in the community. So we appreciate that acknowledgement.
You're welcome.
So, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anybody got anything else for? Anybody got anything for Ms. Lance? Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have a happy Easter.
Next on the agenda will be Mr. Jason Perkett, Airport Manager.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Good morning, Commissioners. I'll be brief this morning. Overall, the airport is doing great. Users and tenants are pleased with the improvements out there and the overall exceptional service they are receiving. Just for your information, we will be having our annual FDOT inspection on Friday, May 3rd. I'm expecting everything to go smoothly as it did last year. A couple board actions. I need a board action to approve a FDOT grant funding agreement for the rehabilitation of airport pavements. specifically the payment in front of the FBO. The FDOT funds will cover 100% of the cost, up to $428,438. Board action on that.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion on it?
Jason, are you going to just resurface the entire area there?
What happens normally is it's concrete, a lot of concrete's from World War II, and so it begins to chip off, and so we'll do a joint replacement, and any sprawling or any issues where it's cracked, they'll go in and replace those sections. So we do AVCON does a great job of analyzing priority. It can't do it all, but we go in and rehabilitate the concrete that's deteriorating and cracking at that point. Second board act, I'm sorry.
We haven't voted yet.
I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously.
Second board action is to approve an FDOT grant funding for the design and construction of lighting rehab for runway 624 and the taxiways B and D. The FDOT funds will cover 100% of the cost, up to $800,000. This is basically doing what we've already done on 1432, where we went in and put all new lighting, all new underground conduit. That happened about a year and a half ago. This is now doing our secondary runway to match our first runway with all LED lighting, so that it's 100% funded by the FDOT.
Ready to vote?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion on that?
Will you, excuse me again,
Yeah.
will you have an enhancement where you can remote push to light?
Yes, sir. We have that
You will.
now. It's called pilot control lighting.
That's right.
Yeah, we have that. Yes, sir. We have that now.
And that'll be employed in the new?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. That will not go away.
And
Yes,
you
sir.
have that on all three runways right now?
No, 1836 is our tertiary runway. It does not have lighting on that
I see.
runway. But our primary and secondary do have lighting. Our primary runway has the new upgraded LED lighting, and now this will upgrade our secondary runway as well. But both those runways will be pilot control lighting from the year.
So a preview of coming events, you'll have rehab lighting for the third runway someday?
No, sir. That runway has not been lit
I see.
in the entirety of the airport.
I
So
see.
we have two runways that are lit for nighttime use, and we have a third runway that is used for daytime use.
Didn't know that.
Also, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Apologize. I'm trying to hurry.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously.
Jason, while you're looking, so just for the benefit of the public, so you just heard of $1.2 million of federal and state money being spent on the airport. So my comment to you all who are having your front end of the line of your car knocked out because US 98 isn't straight and flat, buy an airplane and you can land on a nice flat runway.
Easy.
That's an instrument approach.
Yes.
We got a budget item we're gonna talk about.
Easy. Before I turn it over to Mr. Allen, I do want to mention that Centric Aviation, our FBO provider, is proud to present their second, I believe it's the second annual Aviation Sorta Heights Flight Training Scholarship. It's open to applicants now. Applications are due by May 15th. The application can be downloaded from their website at centricaviation.com. They have already notified Melanie Copeland, the guidance counselor for Franklin County School District, the Appalachia Times, and Oyster Radio to get the word out. And it provides a scholarship for students to start flight training. And it's actually two scholarships. You had to start flight training. So that's another way that our FBO is investing in aviation in our community, and specifically the youth in our community. And
Do we have a
Yes, sir.
age limit on that?
I don't know the details on that. I don't know if is it sophomore, juniors, and seniors? Yes, I didn't have the notification. You might have it. So it's sophomores, juniors, and seniors in high school.
That's a good thing.
Absolutely, it's a good thing. It's incredible.
Chairman, that, again, this enhances our Franklin County people and our children.
Very, very good thing.
You know, I never will forget when I began to run for public office, I talked to the supervisor of elections and asked her, can you tell me just what is our main issue here in Franklin County? And it was, kids are dropping out of school, doing drugs, having babies, and working in the oyster field. Now, this is just a wonderful opportunity for a scholarship that just elevates skill and, you know, to be able to, I'll bet they'll be able to skip school and get some credit for that to go out and learn how to fly. And dimension it as their life. And this is a tremendous opportunity for Franklin County. Thank you for doing that.
Centric Aviation has done a fantastic job. I believe I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Allen for a couple
Okay,
items.
I have two items on my, at the airport on my report. These items 7 and 8. And I'm going to read number 7 because it's written and everybody has it, and then I'm going to modify it after I finish reading it. But I just want to go ahead and start where at the beginning. So Triumph Fuel Farm application update. At the previous meeting, I informed the board that FDOT had requested the county submit a grant for a backup generator at the airport, as FDOT was willing to fund it because of the important role the airport played during the hurricane recovery. Apparently, FDOT made this offer to other airports before it realized how much money they would have available. Without informing the county, FDOT made an internal decision to award Panama City Airport and Mariana Airport funds for the backup generators, and I'm now told Franklin County our funds for backup generator will come out of future funds they receive, and that FDOT will not support the county reprogramming other FDOT funds, which is where I had been headed before yesterday. The airport fuel farm is so old and the backup generator is critical, so critical that I've spoken to Erin Griffin in finance, and she's here, and to Triumph staff about our situation. And this is what I was going to recommend, since I have it here, I'll read it to you, but I'm not now. I recommend the board dedicate $15,000 airport funds to a cash match for Triumph application, and we increase our Triumph application to $1.055 million, up from the $920,000 Triumph funds I previously said would be Triumph funding amount. And Centric would still be getting $120,000 worth of fuel trucks as part of the upgrade of the fuel farm. However, I'm not going to ask for an recommendation on that or action on that, because after speaking with Centric yesterday and Jason and with John Collins, this is where I think we're headed at the airport. Centric is willing to pay for the backup generator. They are willing to pay for other money and use it for two purposes. One, for the backup generator for the fuel farm when they need to pump fuel, or in the FBO in the event they have problems with the FBO. So they would like to have a dual purpose, and they're willing to pay for it. And so our application, instead of having $15,000 of cash, we will show Centric having the fuel trucks worth $120,000, and then they contributing between $30,000 and $50,000 to a backup generator. We'll still own the backup generator. I mean, it'll become county property, but they would purchase it. And now I will tell you, they will purchase it, and this is something where the board action would be involved. They would like to extend their lease another 20 years. And so I asked, in consideration for their investment in the airport, that they have an extension on their lease to warrant the improvements they are making out of their own pocket for the airport. And this is something that Jason and I have talked about. Centric has been asking for an airport extension for a while. They're in their third year of a 5-year lease. They have 2 more years to go. But I highly recommend we take advantage of Centric and their investment and their orientation to service in the community. And so my action to you all this morning is to accept board action to accept Centric's offer to buy the backup generator as part of our fuel farm improvement, and then direct the county attorney to negotiate with Centric for a 20-year lease extension on their agreement out there. That's sort of what they've offered yesterday afternoon, and I'll defer to you all for discussion.
We kind of, they want 20 years because they're buying a generator?
Well, they've made other improvements out there, Commissioner. Mr. Chairman, I highly encourage you to go out there. They completely renovated the FBO at their expense. And now they're willing, I say this, I'm sure we could cut the lease into phases, but they just want to have a commitment from the board that they're going to make a commitment. They want to stay here, and they want to make sure their investment is worthwhile.
If I may interject real quickly, I believe they have an interest in building additional infrastructure at the airport other than what they've already done. And again, I think they just want to have some sort of commitment from us saying that if they outlay this cash into property that won't be theirs, it's not like they can take a generator back with them, that they have some sort of commitment from the county that they have an agreement long term.
Yeah, but that's a big jump from.
Well, Commissioner, it's a big jump from what they have now. I think they've earned it. It's not the first time we've had a 20-year lease. The initial, well, not the initial tenant out there, but an earlier tenant, Mr. Bill Rourke, had a 20 or 25-year lease. So we've done long-term leases before. But again, I'll defer to you all. My dilemma is I'm trying to get this Triumph application in to get the fuel farm. The FDOT and their funding problems just came up last week. So yesterday afternoon, Centric made this offer to fund the backup generator themselves. We don't have to take them up on that. We can, go back to the original idea of us putting up $15,000 and seeing if Triumph will accept that.
Let me make a, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Let me make a suggestion that we look at a 10-year extension of their lease with another 10 years after that. Okay. Should everything work out fine, would that better suffice your thinking, Mr. Chairman? Rather than just give them 20, give them 10, and we'll reevaluate, they could possibly get another 10 at the end of that 10-year term.
Yeah, that'll be better, cause you know,
And Mr. Chairman, another thought too, to complement what you just said. I think we need a plan of care from Centric, as we do any vendor that wants a commitment like that. It's a bilateral issue. We extend a lease, but what are the criteria for performance for Centric, and what are our criteria? And I just feel like it's, we're ending an entitlement here that I just feel like all parties need some parameters of performance. What do you think?
Yeah, Commissioner, I didn't mean to imply there would not be any consideration. I mean, the attorney, I'm asking for the attorney to draft this thing and have you all bring it
And then we
back.
can
I'm not asking you to
study it?
approve it right today, but so those kind of parameters should be included, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're already included in our current lease, and we can add any we need to add. And I will say that they have, I believe Centric has gone above and beyond what were they committed to in the original lease.
I would say so too.
Yeah.
I've toured and
Yeah, they've done a fantastic job.
I put my comments into a form of a motion for the direct attorney to extend the lease for 10 years and possibly have another 10 drawn at the backside of that if they do, as they've been doing. I will say that Centric has done a better job than any FBO we've ever had out there. As I've been here my whole life, you know how many calls I've gotten since they've taken over? None. We've not run out of fuel. They're doing a tremendous job out there. And everything's functioning good with the help of our airport manager, which we've never had a paid airport manager out there. I mean, the airport's doing fine. There's no comments. You don't hear people coming to our meetings complaining about the airport. And I think they're doing an awesome job, and I'm gonna put that in form of a motion with all my comments directing the attorney to do what he needs to do to extend that for 10 years, with a possible another 10 after that, and we'll look at it when we get down the road 10 years later.
Second.
I got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Jones. Discussion?
Yes, sir. I would just remind the board and the chairman that the last time we had essentially an evergreen lease that could not be canceled at the airport, it worked out well in the beginning and it ended badly. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I negotiate with Centric.
In which you should.
I will.
And I just would want to reinforce what you just said about parameter performances. If you can help us with an amendment to this lease, give us a study of what should be proper performances of both parties as we get into this consideration.
Yes, sir. And I will agree with everything that Alan has said about Centric being a good partner for the county. I've been here not quite as long as Alan, but I've seen
Had good days and bad
problems
days.
out, yeah, good days and bad days, and we've had some really good days, I think, with Centric out there. But of course, we hope for the best, but plan for the worst when we negotiate.
But I wanna make sure they stay good from now on, because, you know, you get that big time lease, they can slack back. I'm not in favor of getting them no 20 years. I think 5 would've done good, but y'all ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passed unanimous.
Okay, then item 8 on my report, I will read verbatim. Several meetings ago, the board asked me to investigate the requirements for an Airport Advisory Committee, or an AAC, in light of the fact the board had received funding for the Airport Master Plan update. I've consulted with AvCon, Franklin County's aviation consulting firm. AvCon provides consulting services to several other public airports in Florida, so they are well-versed in the functions of AACs. But before I go any further, I need to make a distinction between an AAC and something called a TAC, or Technical Advisory Committee. The FAA recommends that there be a TAC for the specific purpose of the master plan update process. And AAC is not mentioned in the master plan update process. Since the TAC is supposed to provide technical support during the update process, the board can appoint Jason Puckins, airport manager, and Centric Airport FBO to be the TAC. The TAC would then work with AvCon, providing input for the airport. Ultimately, the county commission will approve and then submit the master plan, so the final say on the master plan will be the county commission. If the board does want to create an AAC, the board itself could be the AAC, or you could appoint citizens. An AAC is a committee whose roles or authorities are set by the county commission. An AAC could have broad powers and duties or not. All that would be established by the county commission. But an AAC is not part of the master plan update process, so it is the discretion of the county commission whether one is appointed and how it functions. So I need board direction on whether you want to create a TAC specifically for the master plan update and or an AAC.
Pleasure to the board.
I'll make a motion that we appoint the members to the TAC for the Technical Assistance Committee to update, to do the airport master plan update.
And that being Jason Puckett and Centric?
That's correct.
Second. Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Jones. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I bring, I guess, 3 years' experience of being on the Airport Advisory Board for Carabel Airport. And yes, Carabel Airport is not a county airport, it's a city airport. And there's a lot to be said, Jason, for knowledgeable, old pro, retired people who understand aviation, flew planes and commercial, et cetera. And I believe that if we're moving into maybe a compromise here, that the TAC, Technical Advisory Committee, be salted with some of these old pro, experienced people who are citizens, maybe even fly out of your airport, as part of this committee. It sounds like it's a neutral issue. It does sound like, whatever you call it, a technical advisory committee or an airport advisory committee, it's there to complement you and the work you're doing and to provide you with input, not adversarial and not policing,
Right.
but complementary.
I
want that.
Yeah. If I could say, I believe the TAC and the AAC are completely separate entities. The AAC is an Airport Advisory Commission that operates on all airport issues throughout the year, throughout the decades. I believe the TAC is mentioned specifically for the master plan update. So I think it's important to denote the difference between those. And as far as the AAC is concerned, I've been on the AAC before I was an airport manager. An AAC with the right folks is absolutely beneficial. But I think what's most important is that everyone knows the roles and responsibilities of the AAC. You have some AACs and municipalities that is the governing authority of the airport. You have some municipalities where the county commissioner is the governing authority. So I think what happens is we have people come from all different walks of life in these AACs without a clear-cut direction, and I believe you have an issue with authority structure and governance structure. So if an AAC is formed, I think the most important thing to do is to clearly define roles and responsibilities from the front end so that everyone would be on the same page.
I agree. As we've worked in Carabel Aviation Airport, we have good meetings, and we continue to comply with all federal and state standards on that airport. Without, there's not a lot of bureaucracy there at all. And,
You're blessed.
It is a good thing, and I just want to make sure that we're able to do that. But are you saying you can't mix a technical advisory committee with?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I just think that they're, from the definition and the scope of what we're talking about, they're two different entities.
You could mix it, but the TAC is going to expire at the end of the master plan update. So
Yeah,
the TAC
6
is a very
months.
specific goal, targeted issue, one thing.
Let me state something about this AAC, Commissioner Bolt, that you keep bringing up.
I do.
Do you know how many people from Apalachicola, which we typically had 5 to 6 members on our AAC group, has contacted me or the county about renewing this AAC group? None. Because as I stated earlier, our airport manager, our FBO are doing a tremendous job out there. And there's no one that used to sit on this AAC committee that you're talking about from Apalachicola that lives around that airport that has contacted me about redoing this. Now, what you do in Carabel and how that functions over there, that's fine. That's fine. Keep doing what you're doing. But you keep bringing this up, meeting after meeting, and nobody from Apalachicola that lives in the proximity of that airport is bringing this up to me that we need to get this going. They're confident in our airport manager. They're confident in what our FBO operator is doing out there. And when the time comes, the people will let me know when we need to start an ACC in Apalachicola. So other than that, continue what you're doing in Carabel. If it's functioning good for you, that's fine. This is a whole separate airport here, and it affects a lot of different people. Affects everybody in my district over here in Apalachicola. So when those people start telling me, well, we need to start looking at redoing the ACC, then I'll consider that. The people that keep telling you and keep calling everybody don't live in Apalachicola. They live in other parts of the county. So the noise and everything else that airport generates does not affect these people. Okay? So let's get that point straight and to the point here. Because I'm tired of every meeting you bringing this back up. And it's not affecting you. You live in Alligator Point. It is a county airport. And I'm all about the airport. And I support the airport. As you noticed, I made all the motions this morning to do the lighting and do everything else that we need to do. So, you know, let's move on from this issue and quit bringing it up every meeting until we get the airport master plan done, and then we'll reconsider this. I mean, I don't understand why it keeps coming up meeting after meeting after meeting.
Well, I can tell you why. Partly yes, part of my constituency there is in Carabel, but Franklin County Commissioners are access of portal for county governments. And that's part of our role as all 5 county commissioners. And I am hearing, as a seasoned 2,200-hour pilot with an instrument rating, I'm magnetized to people who know that I do this, and that's why I'm asked for advice with regard to an aviation advisory board made up of our people. And that's why. I do respect our district role, but I also respect the fact that I have a role for a county airport as well in that input. That's why I do that. And I'll probably continue to do it. So if anybody needs me to be a portal of access for you with regard to county government on any subject, not only this, but this airport, but any subject, that's what I'm here for.
Well, 6 in one hand, half done the other. Okay. I'm gonna tell it like it is. We got other advisory boards, board adjustment, you got all kind of boards. I mean, and just cutting out one, I don't see where it'll hurt to have boards. If you're gonna cut one out, cut all of them out. You're gonna keep all of them, but don't have this one, that one, nothing. Do them all. It's the same government, and they got the. Don't like what's going on. We just put somebody on the board who we can stop fussing. Fussing can be stopped easily. You just put the right people on there.
I agree.
Get rid of the bad fruit.
I agree.
In the spirit of this, I believe, Jason, is to compliment you and to celebrate your work and your staff. This isn't watch care.
And I want to make it very clear publicly, I'm not an opponent of an AEC. I don't want to walk out of this thinking there's an adversarial spirit here. I'm not.
No.
What I'm saying is an AEC in different parts of the country mean different things to different people. So if an AEC is formed, I think the best thing for us to do is to clearly define what the AEC needs to do. An AEC roles and responsibilities might be different in Carabel than what the players of the board has for Franklin County. It might be completely different. I know in Thomasville, where I'm from, the AEC is the governing body of the airport. The airport manager reports to the AEC. In this situation, the airport manager reports to you guys. So I think it's just clear, it needs to be clearly defined what the roles and responsibilities are, who does what, and I think, an AEC could be absolutely beneficial. I don't have a problem with the AEC, I just want it to be clearly identified and delineated who does what.
Well, the problem we're doing now, we're cutting out the locals. I don't like that part. If you do away with the aid, and you do this, you're getting all your power to the outside. That's the way I see it. But
Well, the master plan, I mean, to be fair to you all, the master plan is going to be approved by you all, and any opportunity you have county commission meetings and people can speak about, the master plan is going to be on an agenda item, I mean, it'll be something to discuss when it comes up. So, Commissioner, I don't think it's going to be developed in secret, and you all will hear about it and have opportunity to talk as much as you want about it.
no, I'm not saying it's gonna be no secret. I know it's not gonna be no secret. I know that part. But I'm still saying, you're giving your power to the outside. You're cutting out all your local, and that's not right. Y'all ready to vote?
To be clear, what we're voting on again, please?
Creation of the TAC with the members of being Jason Puckett and the FBO.
Just for the master plan update, is that?
Just for the master plan.
Just for the master plan.
And how long is it supposed to take?
2 years, up to 2 years.
But that will not be, the TAC will not make any decisions for the airport, just for the master plan update.
Right.
The decision of the
Just
airport is
master
made by the
plan
county
update,
commission.
Which then you all ultimately approve.
So the TAC has a limited function.
Yes.
And a limited
Yes.
group of folks, and it has a short life.
Yes.
Okay.
And it makes no decisions outside of that master plan update. That's the only reason it's formed, is for the master plan update. It does not make I mean, to be honest with you, I don't make decisions. Everything we do is with the board approval. So, but there will not be any input as far as infrastructure of the airport, as far as what, day-to-day operations. None of that happens with the TEC. They're just there to give us a visionary outlook on where we're going to go as an airport for the master plan update, basically.
Okay, I'm willing to go ahead and vote with the understanding that after we vote, I want to make a new motion. But this is, I'm ready to stand by here now.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passed unanimously.
Now, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that this board consider the formation of a Apalachicola Airport Advisory Board made up of citizens and experts in the field of aviation to advise airport advisory executive staff and federal and state officials with regard to the enhancement of the Apalachicola Airport.
I got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Burt Bowden, Mr. Bowden. Is there a second? Is there a second? It died from a lack of second.
And that's okay. I'll bring it up again. And continue just to be educated. And this is not a popularity contest to hope that I get elected again. This is just good common sense governance.
We're done.
So in other words, now let's get this straight. The commission, I want everything to come to this board, what happened at the airport, everything. Cause we cut out the advisory committee. That means we handle it.
Yes, sir. Of course, the advisory committee hasn't met in, I will say.
Over a year.
A year or two.
We've been operating.
So they won't be meeting, but that'll be 3 years, but I wanna know every move, to let this board make every move.
Yes, sir.
Cause we.
You own it. You own it, it's your airport.
And we'll be running it from now on the way it's set up.
That's the airport issues.
Okay? Keep up the good work. All right. Let's take 5 minutes.